One late night, a single dad who also happens to be a high-powered CEO makes a frantic call for an emergency babysitter. But in his rush, he dials the wrong number. When the door swings open minutes later, the woman standing there is a complete stranger. Yet somehow, it feels like fate. He wasn't expecting her, but maybe she's the one he's unknowingly been waiting for all along. The lights in the conference room flicker slightly as the storm outside approaches the sky. Aiden Walker stands at the head of a long glass table, his sleeves rolled up, his voice cold as he points to the projector screen. He is in the process of finalizing a major acquisition deal, a deal that has taken months of negotiation. Suddenly, his phone on the table vibrates. It's the babysitter's number. He frowns, nods slightly to apologize, and steps into the hallway. "What's going on?" "Marlene." A panicked voice comes through the speaker. "Mr. Walker, I'm so sorry. I can't make it to watch Mia tonight. My car broke down, and I can't get into the city." Aiden pinches the bridge of his nose. "You're telling me this now? My daughter is sick, and I still have an hour left in this meeting. I called your assistant. She said she would arrange a replacement." He ends the call, takes a deep breath, and returns to the meeting. A message from he gives instructions to his vice president, then checks the message. A message from his assistant appears on the screen. The emergency babysitter, Lucy's sister, is on her way. He puts his phone in his pocket, leaves the office, and steps into the elevator with the calmness of someone who always has to manage a crisis. He arrives at his penthouse apartment after 20 minutes, loosening his tie and stepping into a softly lit home. Mia is curled up on the couch under a blanket, her cheeks flushed with fever, tightly hugging her favorite stuffed bunny. She looks up at her dad sleepily. "Daddy?" He kneels beside her, brushing her hair off her forehead. "I'm here, sweetheart. You'll start feeling better soon." The doorbell rings. He stands up straight and walks towards the door, expecting the professionalism usually seen in one of Lucy's colleagues' uniforms. Instead, a woman stands there, soaked from the rain, her hair tied up in a messy bun, holding a small tote bag, and wearing a navy cardigan that looks more suited for a classroom than an emergency babysitting call. She looks up at him, blinking to wipe the water from her eyes. "Hi, I'm Lily Harper. I got a message saying someone needed an emergency babysitter." Aiden furrows his brow. "You're Lucy's sister." She tilts her head. "Lucy?" "No. I think there's been a mistake." There's a long pause. Then Mia coughs behind him, a weak sound that makes his chest ache. He opens the door wider. "Whether there's been a mix-up or not, I need help right now. Can you stay just for tonight?" Lily hesitated, then nodded. "Of course." In just a few minutes, she had hung up her coat, taken off her shoes, and knelt beside Mia on the couch, her voice soft and rhythmic as she spoke to the little girl. She checked her temperature with a gentle touch, helped her sip some water, and whispered stories while rubbing her back. Aiden stood in the hallway, stunned. When he returned after getting the fever reducer, Mia had fallen asleep, curled up next to Lily. He quietly handed her the medicine. "Looks like you know what you're doing." Lily smiled without looking up. "I used to be a preschool teacher. I'm on a break." Aiden didn't ask why. He just watched as Lily gently placed Mia's head on the pillow and pulled the blanket up to her chin. Then, in the kitchen, Lily brewed the tea she found in the cupboard while Aiden sat at the counter, still trying to figure out how this stranger could comfort his daughter faster than anyone else. "I'm sorry again," Lily said. "I really thought that message was from a family I used to babysit for years ago. I just showed up." He shook his head. "You showed up when it mattered." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Lily glanced toward the hallway where Mia was sleeping. "She's a wonderful little girl. You must be doing something right." Aiden exhaled, sounding relieved. "I try. There are days I feel like I'm just surviving. You're not alone in that." He looked at her more closely, noticing her gentle eyes seemed tired. "You seem good at this. Are you sure you're not still a teacher?" She smiled weakly. "It's complicated." He didn't press, but something about her presence, her steadiness, unsettled a part of him that had learned to operate without anyone. As the rain continued to patter against the window, Aiden Walker, CEO of Walker & Co., realized that maybe for the first time in years, someone had stepped into his world and made it feel a little less empty. The quiet apartment, the soft sounds of the distant city below, muffled by the double-glazed glass, Lily stood in the softly lit hallway, watching Mia peacefully sleep on the oversized couch, her small body curled up like a comma beneath the thick blanket. The fever had subsided. Her cheeks, though still flushed, were no longer hot. Aiden appeared beside Lily with 2 cups of tea. "She's out for the night, I think," Lily whispered. He handed her a cup. "Thank you." She took it, warming her hands. She just needed someone to listen, and maybe a little ginger tea. Aiden chuckled softly. "Rare and brief. I should hire you on the spot." Lily raised an eyebrow. "That would be quite a sweet job offer since I just happened to show up here." He simply stated that he had shown up when no one else did. They sat at opposite ends of the wide leather sofa in the living room. Between them, the city lights stretched endlessly, twinkling and out of reach. Aiden leaned back, rolling his shoulders. Lily took a sip of tea, her eyes shifting from the skyline to the frames on the console table. A photo of Aiden with a younger Mia, another photo of a woman with bright eyes and a gentle smile. "She's beautiful," Lily said softly. Aiden followed her gaze. His voice dropped. "She's everything." A long silence followed. "I'm sorry," Lily said. "She passed away 2 years ago," he replied, not looking at the picture. "Cancer. Too fast. Too soon." Lily said nothing. She just nodded, letting the weight of the moment settle naturally. Aiden studied the teacup in his hands. From then on, it was just me and Mia. The babysitters came and went. Schedules changed. Life didn't stop for you to try to breathe again. Lily listened. She truly listened, not as a curious person, but as someone who understood the pain behind each word. "Do you get help? Family?" she asked. "Not really. My parents live across the country." "Her parents," he said quietly. "Complicated." They both glanced at Mia, who sighed softly in her sleep. "So strong," Lily murmured. Aiden nodded. "Stronger than I am on some days." Lily smiled, then hesitated before saying, "You're doing great." He looked at her in surprise. "You've known me for less than 3 hours. 3 hours is long enough to see the look in your eyes when she cries, long enough to see the world stop when she needs you." Aiden's jaw tightened, emotion flickering behind his calm eyes. There was something about Lily's presence, a quiet stability that made it feel normal to speak without needing to resolve everything. He spoke, then gently changed the subject. "Why is someone like you not in this classroom full of kids?" Lily hesitated. "I have a student." She started slowly, her fingers tightening around her cup. "He got hurt. It was an accident. But I can't stop blaming myself, even when no one else does. I still took time off, then took even more time. And I never went back." Aiden didn't interrupt. He just nodded slowly. "I think so," Lily said after a moment of silence. "I forgot how to be close to kids without being afraid." He tilted his head slightly. "You don't look afraid tonight." She smiled weakly. Mia made that easy. They both fell silent, not out of discomfort, but in that strange space where 2 strangers began to feel a little less strange. Finally, Aiden stood up. "You can take the guest room. It's at the end of the hall. Mia sleeps better when there's someone nearby. And I trust you." Lily blinked. "Are you sure?" He nodded at her wearily, but sincerely. "I haven't been sure about many things lately, but this feels right." "It feels right." She followed him out into the hallway, stopping once more to glance at the girl sleeping on the couch. Aiden looked at her. "Thank you, Lily, for tonight," she smiled. "Thank you for letting me stay." As the living room door closed behind him, Aiden stood alone for a moment, staring into the space she had just filled. A strange feeling urged him, like the beginning of a question he still didn't have the courage to ask. But somewhere down the hall, a stranger had made his world feel less like a burden and more like home. The next morning came softly, with sunlight streaming through the half-drawn curtain. Aiden was dressed in a new suit, pacing in the kitchen with his phone pressed to his ear while pouring cereal into a bowl. Mia sat at the counter in her pajamas, swinging her legs and absent-mindedly playing with a spoon. Across from her, Lily appeared in the doorway, dressed in simple jeans, a soft gray sweater, and her hair loosely tied back. "Good morning," she said softly. Mia's face lit up. "Ms. Lily." Aiden turned around, surprised by the burst of excitement from him, who was usually so reserved. "I guess someone is happy to see you." Lily smiled and walked over. "How's the fever doing? I feel like I could eat pancakes." Aiden raised an eyebrow. "You barely touched your toast last night." "I changed my mind." Lily chuckled. "Do you mind if I make her something? I'm a pancake wizard?" Aiden hesitated and then stepped aside. "Go ahead." Within minutes, the kitchen was filled with the smell of vanilla and cinnamon. Mia giggled as Lily skillfully flipped pancakes, adding blueberries to create star shapes. "I didn't know we had blueberries," Aiden mumbled. "I found them behind the protein bar," Lily replied, glancing at him playfully. He sat at the counter, watching Mia eat breakfast. He hadn't seen his daughter so lively in weeks, not even when surrounded by family, and certainly not when there was a hired nanny around. After washing the dishes, Lily turned to Aiden. "If you need help today, I'm available. You don't have any other plans, do you?" She shrugged. "Not anymore." Aiden looked at her for a moment. This suggestion wasn't professional. Somehow, it felt personal. She chose this, chose them. He said, "I would really appreciate it if it could be like that." It started as one day, then turned into 3 days, then a week. Lily became a part of their daily rhythm. She took Mia for walks in the park, taught her how to fold paper swans, and helped her practice writing with glitter pens and lots of stickers. Every night, Aiden came home to the sound of laughter echoing down the hall in stories he had never heard before, stories Mia didn't want to share with anyone else. On a warm Saturday afternoon, Aiden invited Lily to join them at the farmer's market. They wandered through stalls selling fresh flowers and homemade jams. Mia held Lily's hand as they admired a small puppet show. They bought lemonade and shared a huge cinnamon roll that Mia insisted on feeding them piece by piece. It felt dangerously like a real family. Later at the park, they spread a blanket under a tree. Lily leaned against the trunk, reading aloud from a storybook while Mia curled up next to her. Aiden watched them from the picnic basket, his heart aching with something both beautiful and terrifying. As the sun began to set, Mia rested her head in Lily's lap and whispered something. Lily looked down, startled. "What did you say, sweetie?" This time Mia repeated it a little louder. "Can you be my new mom?" The words hung in the air like a fragile thread. Lily's eyes filled with emotion as her hand stroked Mia's hair. She glanced at Aiden, who was completely frozen, saying nothing. Unable to, Lily smiled softly and said, "That's a really big question. Mia, let's just keep having fun together, okay?" Mia nodded happily and quickly fell asleep right in her lap. Finally, Aiden exhaled, quietly stepping closer. He sat down next to them, saying nothing, just looking at the two people who had quietly and completely upended his world. "She's never said anything like that to anyone before," he finally said. "I don't know what to say." Lily admitted, "You're absolutely right." They sat in silence, a silence that no longer felt like two strangers passing the time. Instead, it felt like the beginning of something both of them were afraid to name. But something had changed, and they both knew this was no longer temporary. The following week drifted by in the haze of familiar routines. Mornings filled with laughter, afternoons at the library, evenings curled up with storybooks. From the outside, everything looked like a happy picture, but something had shifted inside Aiden, and Lily could feel it. He had become quieter and more reserved. He still smiled when Mia held Lily's hand or proudly showed off the drawing they had made together. But there was a certain distance in his gaze, something she couldn't reach. One evening, when Mia was napping after a busy afternoon at the aquarium, Aiden walked into the living room, where Lily was sitting sorting colored pencils while listening to soft music in the background. He cleared his throat. "Dinner is almost ready. You can stay if you want." She looked up and smiled. "I'd like that." But there was something in his voice that made her hesitate. Then, when they sat down at the table, with Mia sleeping in her room, the air between them grew heavier than usual. Lily gently pushed her half-empty plate aside and asked, "Are you okay, Aiden?" He didn't answer right away. He poured himself a glass of water, staring into it, then said, "This is what we've built. I'm starting to feel it's more than I expected." Lily's heart skipped a beat. "And that's the problem?" she asked softly. He shook his head. "No, but it's complicated." She nodded slowly, her fingers intertwining on the table. "You're scared." He admitted honestly that he was afraid to let her in, afraid Mia would get attached, afraid of losing it all again. Her gaze softened. "Aiden, you never wanted to come into my life and replace someone," he quickly said. "I'm not doing that, but that doesn't mean I know how to do this. I lost someone, and I've spent the last 2 years making sure Mia never has to feel that kind of loss again." "You're trying to protect her," Lily said gently, "and maybe protecting her means not letting anyone close." Lily's throat tightened, including me. He didn't reply. The silence was a confirmation of its own. Lily slowly stood up, gathering her bag. "I think I should go." "Lily," he began, but she gave him a small, sad smile. "You don't have to explain. I understand. I'm not ready." She walked toward the front door, paused, then turned back one last time. "I wasn't looking for a family when I showed up at your door that night, but somehow you became a family, and I don't know how to walk away from that without heartbreak." She left before he could respond. The apartment felt colder after she left. The next morning, Mia woke up and noticed Lily's shoes were gone from the hallway. She looked around in confusion, then found a small folded note on the table in the playroom. Her tiny fingers slowly unfolded it. "You're so brave and kind, and I will always care about you. Love, Miss Lily." Mia clutched the note to her chest and started to cry. When Aiden ran in, she looked up with wide, tear-filled eyes. "Did Lily leave because of you?" Aiden knelt beside her, holding her close. "No, sweetheart, she left because of me." And for the first time in a long while, he realized a painful and clear truth. He had built such high walls around his heart that even love couldn't find a way in. And now he had pushed away the only person who made him believe that feeling again was okay. Days went by, then a week. The apartment became quieter. Too quiet. Mia stopped asking about Lily after the third night, but she carried a small piece of paper like a talisman, clutching it tightly in her little hands when she thought no one was watching. Aiden looked at her, guilt gnawing at him like rust. Lunch for her, taking her to preschool. He still woke up early, prepared lunch for her, took her to preschool, and went back to meetings as if nothing had changed. But everything had changed. One afternoon, after a particularly soulless meeting, Aiden sat at his desk, staring at the coffee mug that Lily used to leave on the shelf, a simple ceramic cup with tiny sunflowers. She had said it reminded her of something warm, something she missed. His chest tightened. "I made a mistake," he murmured. Without thinking, he pulled out his phone and scrolled through his contacts until he called a familiar number. Not Lily's number, she never called, but the babysitting service he thought he had called a few weeks ago. This time he asked directly, "Do you know where Lily Harper is?" There was silence on the other end. Then a hesitant voice responded. "She volunteers part-time at Maple and Bloom Books downtown. Sometimes she works with kids there." That evening, Aiden stood outside the small bookstore, nestled between a bakery and a flower shop, his heart pounding. Through the front window, he saw her. Lily sat in a reading circle, cross-legged on a mat, surrounded by a group of small children. Her eyes sparkled as she read from a bright illustrated book. Her voice was lively and full of energy. She laughed, gesturing wildly, and the kids giggled. Aiden couldn't move. She looked so much like herself, vibrant in a way she hadn't been when she left. When the reading session ended, she stood up, hugging a little girl goodbye before gathering the scattered books. As she turned toward the front of the store, her eyes met his through the glass. She froze. Aiden slowly stepped inside, his hands shoved in his jacket pockets. "Hi," he said gently. Lily looked uncertain, wary. "Hi." He said he wasn't here to ask her to come back. "You just need to say thank you." She tilted her head. "For what?" "For giving me something I could never have. For giving me something I didn't know I needed." Lily looked down. "Ready if I keep living in fear." "I made it clear that I'm not ready." "I'm not," he admitted. But losing you made me realize that I might never be ready if I keep living in fear." She crossed her arms, but her expression softened. "Fear is real, Aiden, but love is too." He stepped closer, pulling something out of his pocket. It was a bracelet. Brightly colored beads strung unevenly with the letters MIA in the middle. "She made this for you the night you left," he said. She hid it under the pillow. "I found it this morning." Lily's fingers trembled as she reached out to take it. "She misses you," he said. "We both do." "I miss her too," Lily whispered. Then, after a moment of silence, "And I miss you." Aiden's eyes sparkled. "Lily, I don't want to pretend that I understand everything, but I know this. When you left, everything felt empty." He sighed slowly, his voice hoarse, just enough to betray the man behind the CEO. "I want to try with you, with Mia, like a family. No walls, no hiding." She looked up, hope flickering like dawn in her eyes. "I can't promise that I won't be scared," she said. "I don't want you to be perfect," he replied. "I just want the truth." She smiled, gently and firmly, then stepped into his embrace. As he held her tight, the bracelet pressed against their palms. Aiden knew he had just been given a second chance, and this time, he wouldn't let go. Lily didn't pull away, not immediately, but she started to reappear quietly, like a melody slowly returning to a forgotten song. She would come in the mornings before kindergarten, helping Mia pick out socks, always mismatched on purpose, and packing little handwritten notes inside her lunchbox. Sometimes they would say things like, "Be brave," or "Remember, the sunshine starts with you." Mia loved them, and so did Aiden. Even though he never said it out loud, their rhythm continued, unhurried but steady. Saturday, pancake day, returned with flour on their noses and giggles ringing throughout the kitchen. Movie nights continued with Lily curled up on one side of the couch, Mia in the middle, and Aiden on the other, their fingers brushing against the shared popcorn. The apartment, once echoing with silence, now felt like it had life in it. It smelled of cinnamon and warmth, crayons and laughter. One evening, after Mia had fallen asleep in the middle of a bedtime story, Aiden stepped outside and found Lily sitting on the couch, flipping through a stack of the child's drawings. "She made these today," Lily said, holding one up. "Clearly, I'm a superhero daycare teacher." Aiden chuckled and sat down beside her, looking at the drawing. A stick figure version of Lily wearing a bright pink cape with Mia and Aiden on either side. "She's not wrong," he said, his voice soft. Lily studied the drawing for a long moment, then set it down on the table. "I've been thinking about going back to teaching." Aiden looked at her with genuine surprise. "You're ready." "I'm scared," she admitted. "But yeah, I think I am scared." He reached out to take her hand, his thumb tracing small circles on her knuckle. "I think the class misses you as much as we do." She smiled, a true smile, and leaned against his shoulder. "The day you showed up at the bookstore, I remembered who I used to be, or maybe who I still am," he whispered. They sat like that for a while, the silence between them, full, not empty. That weekend, Aiden took Lily to a surprising place. She hesitated when he mentioned the cemetery, but she agreed without asking for more details. They walked through the quiet, tree-shaded grounds until he stopped at a humble gravestone. Emily Walker, beloved wife, cherished mother. Lily stood beside him, feeling the weight of memory in the air. "She was kind," Aiden said. "Wonderful. She made this place feel like home." Losing her felt like the world just tilted off its axis. He took a breath, the cool air palpable between his words. "For a long time, I thought loving again would be a betrayal, that if I moved forward, I would be letting her go." Lily looked up at him, her eyes gentle. "I would be letting her go." Lily looked up. "But you've shown me that the heart is not a grave. It can hold more than one love. It can grow. It can remember and still welcome something new." She reached out to take his hand. "I will never try to replace her," Lily said softly. "I don't want you to," he replied. "I want you to be exactly you." They knelt down and placed a sunflower by the gravestone. Lily's idea. "She would love you." Aiden whispered, "I hope so." Lily whispered, "On the way back to the car, Their fingers intertwined naturally. It wasn't grand, it wasn't dramatic, but it was real. It was two people choosing to start over, not from the beginning, but from the broken places they had gently mended together. And in that choice, love wasn't reborn, it simply came home. Spring arrived with gentle mornings and golden afternoons, and along with it was something very close to peace. Lily officially accepted a part-time teaching position at a local kindergarten just a few blocks away from Aiden's apartment. She now takes Mia to school with her. Their footsteps fall in rhythm, their laughter echoing through the quiet streets. There were days when Aiden would meet them on the way back, coffee cup in hand, pretending he had no hidden motives beyond caffeine, though the way he looked at Lily said otherwise. One Thursday afternoon, Mia came home with a certificate clutched in her tiny hand. "Look," she beamed, "I'm student of the month." Aiden picked her up into the air, spinning her slowly in a circle. "That's amazing." "Sweetheart," Lily stood by, clapping enthusiastically. "You were so kind to your friends and such a great listener. Of course, they chose you." Mia's eyes lit up. "We're going to have a ceremony. You both will come, right?" "I wouldn't miss it for anything," Aiden said. On the day of the ceremony, Mia stood on stage with her classmates in front of a small group of parents and teachers. She spotted Aiden and Lily sitting together in the front row, and she smiled so wide her cheeks puffed up. After the applause, she ran straight to them, wrapping her arms around both of them. "I'm so glad you both are here," she whispered. That night, after dinner and cupcakes with a dance party in the living room, Aiden tucked Mia into bed. "Miss Lily is going to stay forever." He kissed her as she hugged her stuffed bunny and whispered, "I hope Miss Lily stays forever." He kissed her forehead, the weight of her words gently pressed on his chest. "I hope so too, sweetheart." When he returned to the living room, Lily was folding laundry, softly humming to herself. He watched her for a long moment before stepping forward. "You've become a part of everything here," he said. She looked up, her cheeks flushed. "I hope that's okay." He smiled. "More than okay." He hesitated, then added, "Will you have dinner with us this Friday? Just us. No toys, no TV, just a real dinner." "Aiden Walker," he chuckled. "I believe so." Lily blinked. "Are you asking me out on a date? Aiden Walker?" He scoffed. "I think so." She grinned widely. "Well then, I'd really like that." Friday night came, and Aiden surpassed all expectations. He wore a button-down navy shirt, set the table with candles, and even tried to cook. Though Lily gently saved the meal from complete disaster, Mia sat in her special booster seat, declaring the fancy pasta, and insisted on toasting with their apple juice. "To us," she proudly said. "Our family." Aiden and Lily glanced at each other across the flickering candlelight, emotions swelling between them. After Mia went to bed, Lily stepped out onto the balcony, drawn in by the cool air and city lights. Aiden followed her. "She's happy," Lily said. "She's happy because of you." Aiden replied. Lily shook her head. "Because of us." Aiden turned to her. "You've changed everything. Lily, you've brought color back to our world." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Lily froze. "I'm not asking for forever tonight," Aiden said quickly, opening the box to reveal a simple, elegant gold ring set with a single diamond. "I'm asking you to say yes right now, to waking up here, to pancakes, to the books on the floor, to all of it, with me." Lily's eyes filled with tears. "Yes," she whispered 1,000 times. "Yes." From the hallway, a sleepy voice called out, "Did someone say pancakes?" They both laughed, and Aiden turned to Lily, slipping the ring onto her finger with a look full of quiet love that could make the stars weep. And in that moment, nothing was missing. No ghosts, no what-ifs, just them together, and more than enough. A year later, sunlight streamed through the trees in a quiet garden behind a brick house in Brooklyn. White chairs lined the narrow cobblestone path, flower petals scattered at their feet, laughter gently filling the air. The wedding was small and intimate in the backyard, with just a few close friends, some colleagues, and Mia, who had declared herself the flower girl, ring bearer, and organizer of everything. Lily stood at the end of the path in a soft, simple, timeless ivory dress, Her eyes sparkled as she met Aiden's gaze, standing under the canopy of white blossoms, with Mia clutching one hand and holding a bouquet in the other. As Lily reached them, Aiden took both her hands in his. "You walked into my life by accident," he said, his voice warm. "But loving you is the most intentional thing I've ever done." Lily's voice trembled as she replied, "You didn't know you could find home in someone else's arms. But you and Mia, you both are the home I never dared to dream of." The officiant smiled and declared, "By the authority vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife." Before he could say anything else, Mia shouted, "You may kiss her." And everyone laughed, and Aiden laughed too. Their kiss was gentle and certain. Mia tossed handfuls of flower petals into the air like confetti. The reception that followed was just as simple: folding chairs, string lights, a jar of lemonade, and the lopsided chocolate cake Mia had helped decorate. No press releases, no grand ballroom, no fuss, just love. A year later, the front window of a charming corner shop now read Sunflower Library, children's books, and community classes. Inside, Lily stood behind a table, guiding a group of little ones through a craft session. Crayons rolled across the table, storybooks lined every wall, and in the back room, Aiden was reading to a group of toddlers who were hanging on every word of The Very Hungry Caterpillar. At his feet was a little boy with curly black hair and big eyes. Theo, not yet 2, had Lily's nose and Aiden's curiosity. Mia sat nearby, now a confident 6-year-old, reading aloud to Theo as her brother finished. "You're going to be a great reader like Mom," she said to him matter-of-factly. One Saturday afternoon, a shiny black car pulled up in front of the shop. Charles and Margaret Walker, Aiden's parents, stepped out. They had kept their distance during his early years of struggle, but time had softened them. Inside, Mia ran to the door. "Grandma, Grandpa, do you want to see Theo?" They stepped in, hesitant but smiling, and Lily carefully handed Theo over. Aiden's father awkwardly cradled the boy, unsure, but Theo reached for the tie and giggled. Something on the old man's face cracked. He looked down at his grandson, then up at Aiden. "You've built something good here," he said. Aiden just nodded. "I've had help." That evening, as the sun set behind the brownstone houses, Aiden sat on the back steps of the shop. Lily leaned against his shoulder, Theo sleeping in her arms. "Do you remember the night we met?" she asked. "You mean the mix-up finding a last-minute babysitter?" he teased. She nudged him gently. "It was chaos. The most chaotic night of my life." They sat in silence, watching the fireflies flickering in the garden. "I used to think family had to look a certain way," Lily murmured, "but now I know it's just love. That's all there ever was." Aiden kissed the top of her head. "And this is what I never thought I deserved." Theo stirred, and Lily softly hummed to soothe him. Inside, Mia was organizing the books on a shelf labeled Mia Walker's Picks. One of those titles read, "How Families Are Made, Not by Blood, but by Presence, by Staying, by Love, Even When It's Hard." And under a painted sign were the words, "You belong here." The Walker family, messy, loud, imperfect, had found everything they ever needed each other. Through this story, we are reminded that life's most unexpected turns can sometimes lead us exactly where we're meant to be. A single mistake like dialing the wrong babysitter can open the door to healing, connection, and the kind of love that quietly rebuilds a broken home. Aiden, a man used to control and precision, found his greatest strength in letting someone in, and she arriving at his doorstep by accident may just be the one who teaches him how to live again. If this journey touched you, show your support for Aiden, who's learning how to trust again, and for the woman who stepped into a stranger's world and chose to stay. What would you tell Aiden to do next? Should he take the leap and finally tell her what she's come to mean to him? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if these kinds of heartwarming stories speak to your soul, don't forget to subscribe to Touching Tales Hub, where every tale reminds us that kindness, love, and second chances are always within reach.